Hi. Let's get some tracking on here. So in true Chaotic Grey style, I did allow loads of time to film this video. Loads. Oh, I need my phone. BRB. Phone has been secured. So I had planned to give this loads of time, and then we have absolutely last minute here in Cape Town got a reservation to a very, very, very desirable restaurant that we really wanted to get into, and being the type B human that I am, did not book far enough in advance, so we didn't get a reservation, but we've just got one through cancellation. So we're going for lunch, and I'm so excited, but it does mean we've got 30 minutes to get ready and film this and get it uploaded to my editor. What's new? Got a matcha from Nice to Matcha. We're in Cape Town. I haven't even introed the vlog. Hi! This week we're doing Q&A, and I've got all of your questions ready to go. I'm sat out here on the balcony. I've got Lion's Head to one side of me. I've got the ocean to the other side of me. This Airbnb is absolutely unbelievable. And I'm just going to sit here and do my makeup, get ready with you, and answer your most asked questions. We're not going to waste any time. We don't have any time to waste. I did just have my hair blow dried because it costs £15 for a blow dry hair. We went sea kayaking this morning, and so when this reservation came through, I was like, I don't have time. I don't have time to get ready and solve for this. So I had a £15 blow dry, and I think they did a real good job. But I'm gonna pin it back for this so I can get ready. Have I brought a clip out here? Chances are about 1%. Let's see if my lovely boyfriend will throw one out. So yeah, we are in Cape Town after a week in Johannesburg, which you are going to see next week. But I had the most incredible experience in Johannesburg, speaking at a summit with over 1,000 entrepreneurs, and I had a videographer come and show you behind the scenes, and you see everything. You see how I came about to being booked for that, the preparation that goes into a keynote, the team behind the scenes that make it happen, my thoughts, my feelings through every single stage of the journey, the keynote itself, explaining how you can get booked and everything you need to know about speaking and the world of speaking. I really take you behind the scenes on, because I know I had this incredible opportunity when I worked behind Stephen Bartlett. I went to all of his speaking gigs. It's a tiny little white clip. I got to go to all of these speaking gigs all around the world, so I know how it works, but I know it's so gatekept to so many people. And so many of your questions are always about how do I get booked for speaking gigs? What do I charge? And I'm going to answer some of that in the Q&A today, but next week's episode is a real deep dive on that. Clip secured, we're ready to Q&A. For now, we're going to dive into your most asked questions. I love these episodes as much as I think you do. So without further ado, let's get into it. And let's make sure I do my makeup at the same time so that I'm not running late for this very precious booking. Question number 1, I absolutely loved this question and I had loads of upvotes. It's from @randomchild4440. When selling your time and services in speaking engagements or sponsored posts, how much do you factor morality and being kind and generous versus pricing yourself higher than what maybe you've charged in the past? But if they're willing to pay that, then that's fine. This is a really great question because it's so much bigger than the question actually that's been asked. The question essentially is, how do you price? And actually this is another one of the questions that I got asked, so this is a perfect place to start, because pricing isn't the only transaction that occurs when you get booked for a speaking gig or when you do a brand partnership or when I do anything that I do as a person. I'm thinking about probably 3 to 4 different factors. The first factor is finances, so let's just take that one out of the equation. When you're thinking about how you're going to be reimbursed for your time, because essentially what you're exchanging is your time, there are, I guess, a few different reimbursement routes, and I take every single booking, speaking or brand partnership, uniquely and price it uniquely. And when I say price it, I'm looking at these sort of factors. So the factors I'm thinking about are monetary. That's one of the exchanges you can offer for your time. So they can offer money for your time. That's probably the most simple, obvious, well-known exchange that exists. Then for me, there's other factors. So for me, I've got to think, how can my time be exchanged to serve my goals? And another one of those things can be an exchange for furthering my name, my image, my brand. So for example, I recently spoke at Ideas Fest and I was on stage with one of the marketing greats, Rory Sutherland. Fun fact, I'm really just spilling everything in this. Am I really gonna spill this? Yeah, fuck it, let's be really transparent. Ideas Fest don't pay for speakers. So that's a notorious, well-known fact. So I know loads of people who were speaking at that event. They do not have budget for speakers. And so I have to look at opportunities like that, which land in my inbox quite a lot, because a lot of people don't have budget for speakers, and go, okay, what's the other value that I'm getting? So having my name next to someone like Rory Sutherland is great for positioning for my brand, of adding authority to my name, of reach, of trust, of association, you know? So that's something I look at. I think, is there anyone else positioned the event that there's going to be imagery or anything associated with my name where people are going to start to see their name and my name and associate myself with that sort of authority in the space? So when I think about one of my goals being to be one of the most respected content leaders or whatever in the space right now, something like that really helps me edge me closer to my goal. So I think about that. I think about content, because ultimately if I'm able to get content from the event, that serves my entire ecosystem, whereby the more content I share, the more bookings and inquiries I get. So if they're able to offer high quality content in the form of videographers, photography, that's super valuable as an exchange. So I'm thinking about all of these things. I'm thinking about, can it get me in rooms with people that I otherwise wouldn't be able to get in with? And it's all of that. So I'm looking at the whole picture every time and understanding what the opportunity versus the opportunity cost is for me. And sometimes I look at it and it's a closed room internal event where no content can be shared, and there's nothing I'm going to be able to do to amplify the messaging from that room. So the value of my time is actually quite expensive for being in that room. Therefore I charge up and I charge more. However, if it's a big stage event with Rory Sutherland, for example, or another great name within my space that's really going to further the authority of my brand, then I really think about, okay, is it worth doing this for less financial reward in the short term, knowing that in the long term it's probably going to lead to bigger opportunities? So I guess that probably answers the morality question. And then the other thing is, like, I try and make sure that about 20% of the work I'm doing is sort of not-for-profit or charity work. That's sort of the split I'm trying to do. So for example, the event I did with YouTube, which was a full-day event, was for a charity partner, and that was obviously not paid for. But things like that were extremely rewarding in terms of morally and all of those things, but also positioning myself as someone who works with charities at YouTube is obviously also great for me. So it's also win-win. But I guess the top line is you've really got to take all of the things that come in, all the inbound opportunities, all the outbound opportunities, and weigh them up uniquely. I guess that comes into question number 2, which is, how do you price speaking? I guess I sort of had a bit of an advantage here, because working with Steve, I understood and was able to gain exposure to the prices he was charging and what he was being paid for different speaking events, but also what different countries and companies and nations and continents would offer as standard. So for example, in the US and Middle East, speaking fees are maybe 3 to 5 to 10 times greater than in the UK or in Europe. So you'll often see a lot of people going out and speaking in the US or speaking in Dubai or Saudi or somewhere like that, and the speaking fees there are considerably higher than in the UK. So there's all these things and like context you need to take into account. I would say, when I started out, I did a lot for free. I think it makes sense to do stuff for free. People ask me now, like, what's your starting out rate? And I said, like, I did a lot for free because it allowed me the flexibility and room to like get things wrong and experiment and make mistakes, and allowed me to warm up without feeling any guilt, because otherwise you're charging with no experience, and I find that a bit of an odd phenomenon in itself. So yeah, I would say everything, you've got to take so much into account. Like, there's so much taken into account. So I have benchmark fees, but that increase quarter on quarter, but ultimately I take into account the entire scenario and context of every single event before pricing it up. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. And what I'm trying to do is build relationships with the brands and people I'm speaking with to understand and build long-term relationships, so that it's not sort of that one-off transaction, which is really hard to price up for. But to let you in on, I guess, a little secret, a lot of speakers I was exposed to in the world when I was with Stephen Bartlett are charging well into the 6 figures, like well into the 6 figures. I don't charge in the 6 figures. I'm not quite at that level yet, but I would say it's lucrative. And if you want more details on that, I'm British, so I find it really hard to talk about money, but if you want the bigger speaking gigs, you will probably want to be represented by a bureau that books within the US and within the Middle East and Asia. Okay, next question. If you lost everything today, no money, no team, no followers, how would you rebuild your brand from zero, and what is the most important thing you would focus on? If I was building my brand from zero, I would focus on really understanding my why and what I'm doing it for. You absolutely cannot come into this world and be expecting to build a brand that's going to blow up overnight just because. I need you to understand why you're doing it, so that the hard days, especially at the start, when you don't see that overnight success, you're able to keep going. But also, there's a greater reason for doing so. I think so many people are caught up right now in just building a brand for the sake of it, and it does not make sense to me. I literally don't understand what it's all for, where it's all going. So that you can sell courses on how to build a brand? I don't get it. So my first thing I'd say is that you've got to understand your why, and sometimes you've got to ask yourself some hard questions to understand that. Sometimes you've got to do a bit of strategy work, plug in something like ChatGPT and ask for a strategy session where you figure out your why. But once you've got your mission, everything becomes a lot clearer. Then I'd be thinking about, don't think too far ahead. I'd be thinking about how can I experiment across a couple of platforms as quickly as I possibly can. So what infrastructure do I need, whether it's software, whether it's people, whether it's support, to experiment with content across a couple of different channels before I find my groove. And I think when you combine understanding your why and the experimentation mindset, you've got the formula that you need in order to start to scale and grow. So that's what I'd be looking at. I'd also be taking inspiration from other industries. So not the industry you're currently in, because what happens is you then just become repetitive and copying, and it doesn't offer something new and fresh. I'd be looking at other industries that you take inspiration from, whether it's fashion or food or nature or lifestyle or whatever it is, and take little bouts of inspiration from other areas and bring them into your work to experiment with. So a mindset of experimentation X times with really deeply understanding your mission and why you're doing it is what's going to provide you the framework and the infrastructure to keep going through the hard times when most people would give up, and when it becomes hard, because it is hard, combined with taking inspiration from outside of where you're currently working, so you don't end up just copying and pasting and sounding like everyone else in your space already. That's what I'd do if I was starting again. And in many ways, I guess I kind of have started again, because my brand and identity has really shifted from being the player B, if you like, the person behind the scenes, to the person in front of the scenes, in front of the camera, i.e. how we got here today. Next question says, if I want to be a creator, what's the most important thing I should focus on and take action on for the next 1 to 2 years, from starting to first brand partnership? Would you advise me to build my personal brand and creative work on the same account or split them? Okay, there's a few questions here. That second one gets asked all the time, so let me start with that one. There's no right answer for this. Every single instance is very unique. So what I would say is, again, come back to your why. Are you trying to be known in a certain industry for a very specific thing and get booked for that? If so, you probably want to focus your content in that direction. Back ages ago, people have always said split them out, niche down, focus. The reality is, as humans, is we're multifaceted. It's something I've spoken about in a few vlogs now. And if it comes under the guise or within who you are within your personal branding, i.e. it's one of your sticky points for people to remember you, then for sure bring it all into the same page. That makes so much sense. In the same way, you'll see on my Instagram, you'll see I guess pictures from holiday and trips and matcha, but you're also going to get marketing advice woven in there. And the reason for that is because those little glimpses of personality are what people relate to. They're the humanness to the brand, and they're what people remember about you. And association is incredibly powerful for memory. So when people think of me, they might think of Matcha because I post about it all the time. They might think of travels. When they think of Cape Town, they might think I've just been here. And so letting people in on little glimpses of your world and your life can be really powerful. But if you are looking to become, I think you said within the music space, the next most shared, most viral music page on TikTok or Instagram, then you've got to go all in on that niche. Does that make sense? There's not really a right answer. It really depends on, again, your goals. Everything comes back down to your why, your mission, your goals. Once you understand that, basically everything else falls into place. And I know it sounds generic, like I do. I realize everyone's like, come back to your why, start with your why. But once you understand that, I swear everything becomes clearer. And do you know the other thing I've been thinking a lot about, which I'm actually going to post on Instagram soon, but I think I want to talk about here as well, is we think the solution to creation or creativity is to consume more because we think we're being inspired. The reality is everybody needs to stop consuming. Our brains are exhausted, our synapses and everything, the neurons are burnt out. That's not real science. I did do biology at A-level, but that's not real science. Don't come and quote me on that. But that's what it feels like, right? It feels like our brains are mush. We're so exhausted with consumption. And the reality is we need to stop consuming in order to get creative. Do you know when I felt my most creative? This week, when I've put everything down and I've been in nature. Like, it's not rocket science. That's like a really normal, common thing that happens when you put stuff down. But we're over consuming and telling ourselves that we're seeking inspiration or we're learning or we're understanding the trends. Don't get me wrong, you've got to spend time in the platforms, 100%, but not too much time, you know? To get creative, we've got to stop consuming. I don't even know if that was a question, but that's something I'm thinking about. If I want to be a creator, what's the most important thing I should focus on and take action on for the next 1 to 2 years from starting to first brand partnership? I would be thinking about exactly the brands you want to work with and not just building an audience in the hope that things land in your inbox, because I just think that method is so dead. That is influencer marketing, and we are moving on from influencer marketing. We are moving into creator brand partnerships and creator entrepreneurship. So I would be really, really hot on who you are, why you're sharing content, what value you're adding. And then I'd be absolutely hyper fixated on the type of brands I want to work with, because when you start positioning yourself for those brands, amazing things happen. Those brands start to notice. It's not just by chance that I've worked with some of the brands on my vision board. I've perfectly positioned myself in front of them so that I seem like an obvious choice when they want to reach out. So I'd start there. I get super clear on the type of people you want to work with, and I'd be creating content with the idea that you are positioning yourself as a perfect fit to partner with those sort of brands. So don't just like post and hope for the best and cross your fingers. Look at the type of people they're working with and position yourself as an ideal candidate for them through your content. So like, what platforms do they partner with people on? How can you get in front of them? How can you go to events where like they're representing talent, or they're speaking, or their creative partnership teams are speaking? Like, just, you know, like reverse engineer this sort of thing. Don't just post and cross your fingers and hope for the best. I just think that strategy is so redundant now, and all the, oh my god, I never thought I'd end up here, it's like rubbish. Like, get strategic, position yourself, and it's amazing what comes from that. Oh, this was a fun one. Hearing about your stylist totally elevated my vision of what being a professional could look like and feel like. I'd love to learn more about your process with Flick. So Flick is my stylist, and she's incredible. She's someone I've followed for ages on Instagram, and then I reached out and said, look, I'm drowning. I've got all of these events. I feel like a mess when I turn up. I don't feel put together. I would love to learn to feel put together. Like, how can we work together? And she works with people in all different capacities, which I absolutely love. Where's my bronzer brush? We might have to go inside to finish this off. She works with people in all different capacities. One of them being, she will work through a wardrobe, she'll put things in apps, she'll do lookbooks, she'll do specific events, she'll do autumn wardrobes. Like, she works with some amazing talented women, like some big celebs as well. She like styles for red carpets. She does shoots and campaigns, like she does everything. And so I work with her in different capacities. Sometimes I'll tell her what event I've got coming up and give her a brief, and she will shop with me or shop for me or provide me with mood boards, and we basically go from there. But yeah, it's been a game changer working with anyone who's an expert in their space to level up what you're already doing. I genuinely think positions you in a different headspace, like a different mindset. I definitely think I'd perform better, whether it's placebo or not. I don't know. In my opinion, it's money well spent, and I pay right now, just so you understand how it works. I pay per event. We do like bulk packages, and I list out all the events I want help with, and I pay per event. Oh, fucking hell, there it is. I don't need to go anywhere. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Some of the more general questions I've seen coming up, because I now don't have time to go and see them, but I read every single one of your comments. is it's almost always about getting started. Like, that's what almost always people want to know more about. Sometimes it's about podcasting, most of the time it's about personal branding, and it's about getting started. And something I think people really underestimate is spending time with entrepreneurs. Like, if you are an entrepreneur and you want to start out, spend time with other entrepreneurs, because one, you'll get a sense of whether you really want to do it, because entrepreneurship, trust me, is not for everyone. But secondly, you've really sort of learned the like nitty and grittiness of what it takes, and it removes the like glamorization of what it sometimes looks like online. Hopefully I removed that for you as well. But yeah, it's something Daniel Priestley talks about a lot. Like, spend time with entrepreneurs if you want to be an entrepreneur. He actually says, like, go and work for one.
Stage 1 is called the apprenticeship. In an apprenticeship, you're going to do 1 to 2 years working for an experienced entrepreneur. And you're doing this to get 3 things: commercial awareness, self-awareness, and access to resources.
Because then you really, really get to understand how the business model works. And you know, like, yes, you might be an entrepreneur in like different industries, but really a lot of it translates across industry. So I think there's a lot to be said about spending time with entrepreneurs if you want to be an entrepreneur yourself. And the other thing is, like, it's just really hard work at the start. Like, it's not giving up when most people would give up. It's pushing through what feels like nobody's watching. It's all of those things. So yeah, and finding your people. I can't tell you. Find entrepreneurs who live locally to you and spend time with them, because it can be so unbelievably lonely, and that is the solution. Right, I've got to leave in 4 minutes and I've got to get dressed. I'm going to finish this off in a bit, but that's a strong start. I'm going to get this uploaded and I will sign off shortly. If you've got any more questions for next time, write them on this video so that I can come back to this next time. But I'm going to have a quick look through and see if there's any other burning questions that have come up quite a few times, and I will answer them when I get back from lunch. I'm so excited. Came down with something yesterday, didn't feel too great, could not continue filming for said Q&A. So what I'm going to do is consider this part 1. I feel like it wasn't juicy enough to be a full fat Q&A. So let's call this part 1. Next week we've got Joburg, big talk event, all of those shenanigans. And then maybe the following week or in a couple of weeks' time, we'll do part 2. So use this as your opportunity, if you missed out on asking a question or I didn't get to your question, to pop it in the comments below, because I will go through the comments on this video to determine part 2. So I will do one more Q&A before the year is out. Anything to get you set up and prepared for Q1 of next year, for 2026, that's what part 2 is going to be. I will make it up to you. Anyway, about to go for dinner. I've just arrived in Stellenbosch. It's absolutely beautiful. This is like the Soho farmhouse. If Soho farmhouse and Stellenbosch had a child, this is what we would get. And yeah, about to go for dinner. I'll show you the outfit. Thank you for being here. It means the absolute world. Sorry it wasn't the full-fledged, full juicy Q&A that it was meant to be. Yesterday ran away from me and did not feel too well to film. So we're signing off here. I'm saying a huge thank you. I am so immensely grateful that we are surging past 8,000 subscribers and pushing towards 10 by Christmas, by the end of the year. I can't believe it. If you think anyone else would enjoy this channel, will you do me a favour and just send it to them? Just send it to them, see what they think. You might help us get to the 10k quicker than we're going to do it anyway. So yeah, immensely grateful. It means truly the world. I read through every single one of your comments. I'll be reading through every single one on this video so that I can find the questions to answer in part 2. So yeah, thank you for being here. Here's a quick outfit of the night. Time to go drink some wine in the wine region. I'll see you for the big Joburg vlog, the big speaking extravaganza, the whole reason I'm here, next week. Lots of love. See you next week. Bye.